Witam Państwa bardzo serdecznie na webinarium poświęconym audytowi środowiska Active Directory. Naszą misją jako MWT Solutions jest zapewnienie Państwu odpowiednich informacji i wiedzy, oczywiście nie zawsze związanych z produktem, dlatego też czujemy, że to webinarium z Derekiem i oczywiście z Manage Engine będzie właśnie taką wartością dodaną dla Państwa. Dziękujemy od razu za poświęcenie czasu na dołączenie do nas i mamy nadzieję, że ten czas pomoże Państwu w pracy z Waszym środowiskiem Active Directory. Jeżeli będą mieli Państwo jakieś pytania podczas prezentacji, proszę używać funkcji Questions and Answers w panelu GoToWebinar. Oczywiście postaramy się na nie odpowiedzieć w trakcie prezentacji lub też mailowo bezpośrednio po niej. Zapraszam teraz do prezentacji z Derekiem. Derek, please, you can start your presentation.
Thank you so much, Damien. First of all, I want to thank everyone for taking their time to come to the webinar. I think the information that I'm going to share with you is extremely important for all organizations, and Manage Engine and myself have been able to give this presentation and this information all over the world for the last year, and I'm very glad that we're able to give this information to you as well. Just to give you a little bit of information about me, again, my name is Derek Melber, and I am the technical evangelist for the AD Solutions team here at Manage Engine. And really what that means is it gives me the opportunity to go around the world, as well as through blogs and through communications and emails, help administrators of Active Directory do their job more efficiently and get more done with Active Directory. As you see here, we have some World Tour seminar dates that we had in June, July, and September. Since September, I think we've been to approximately 5 to 7 more cities. We will be in Tokyo next week as well. And then starting in 2016, we actually have quite a few cities already booked for our second World Tour, and I know that we will be in a couple of cities in Poland towards the April, May, possibly June timeframe. So very excited about that. Please put that on your calendar to come to these events. The event is really geared towards you, the administrator. We at Manage Engine struggle to get you information so that you can be more efficient. So that's really our goal, to get this information to you. I will point out some resources to you. We have an Active Directory blog that I run at the Manage Engine website. If you go under Community on the main page, you will see the blog, and it's just a way for me to communicate weekly to you about information related to Active Directory. I would say that about 60 to 70% of all the blogs and videos that I put out there really have nothing to do with Manage Engine products. It's just generic information to allow you, the administrator, to get more information. For example, this week's blog is going to be about DFS and securing DFS. I had a question last week when I was in Italy, and they were asking me about how to secure DFS. So I figured if one person has the question, then many will, and that's really what it's all about. So this is a way for me to communicate with you, for Manage Engine to communicate with you, so that you can get more information and be a little bit more efficient with your Active Directory. Now, what exactly we're going to be talking about today? Well, today's discussion is going to be about monitoring changes in Active Directory. Now, this seems like a simplistic topic, but really it's kind of a complex topic because of the tools that Microsoft has given us in order to accomplish the task. So what we're going to do today in our short time together is we're going to discuss what change monitoring really is. I'm going to give you a full description, my description of what I feel change monitoring of Active Directory is. Then what we're going to do is we are going to go into Active Directory. we're going to go into Windows, and we are going to configure the ability to track changes that occur to Active Directory. Now, Microsoft has given us two different ways to track changes in Active Directory. One is called Auditing, and one is called Advanced Auditing. Now, of course, Advanced Auditing depends on the operating system level that you have. But if you have domain controllers that are Windows Server 2008 R2 or greater, then you can take advantage of Advanced Auditing. And I'll show you how to set that up. Now, once we get our auditing established, the information that we are tracking, the changes that occur in Active Directory, will show up in your security log. So what we're going to try to do, what we're going to attempt to do, is go into the security log and find information that's occurring within Active Directory. Now, what we're going to find out in this part of our webinar is that it's not as easy as we would want it to be to find information in our security log. So we're going to finish up the webinar with a very quick introduction to how you can actually get information in a report and alerts to tell you what's changing within Active Directory. Now, let's start off by talking about what my definition of change monitoring is. Now, when it comes to change monitoring, I not only want to get obvious information changes, such as users and groups, but I want to get as much information as possible. I really want to know when anything is changing within Active Directory. Now, all of you on this webinar know that when something changes in Active Directory that is a negative change, we as administrators may not know about that change for hours, maybe even days. By the time we are informed that something is wrong in the environment, it's nearly impossible to know which change in Active Directory caused the problem. So what I want to know is every time that any object changes in Active Directory, I want to track that so I can run reports for users, groups, computers, group policy objects and the settings within those group policy objects. If the password policy changes, if security changes occur within group policy, if DNS changes, really if anything within Active Directory changes, I need to have a log of that information so that I can go back in time to determine which particular change caused a problem. Also, many of us around the world have to deal with compliance and auditing. So if we have the changes that have occurred within Active Directory, now we can go back and run reports to look at exactly what has changed and give these to the security professionals that need the information. Now, not only do I want to track the changes to objects, I need to know the details around the changes. So I need to know who made the change, which object was changed. I need to know the old value, the new value, and more specifically in our example of when something changed and something went wrong, I need to know when the change was made. So if we really look at my definition of change monitoring, you can see that I am looking for full details on any change that occurred within Active Directory. Now that sounds aggressive because many of us on this webinar want this, and we've attempted to do this in the past, but we know that it's been a struggle with the Microsoft technologies. So how are we going to accomplish this? Well, first and foremost, what we are going to do is we're going to go in and set this up within Active Directory. Now, the way that we set up the tracking of changes within Active Directory is through group policy. Now, group policy, because it controls many computers with one setting, is going to be a very efficient way for us to set up the auditing of our domain controllers. So on your slide, you see a path to where we're going to go within group policy, but we're going to go into the live environment here, and we are going to actually set up, or I'm going to show you my setup of group policy. So we're going to go to Group Policy Management, and then within Group Policy Management, I'm going to show you right here the GPO that I have established and the settings for setting up auditing. Now, auditing is a configuration that's been around for quite a while. It's located here under Security Settings under Computer Configuration. And if we go to our local policies, Audit Policy, you will see here how I have my audit policy set up. Now, I'm going to point out a couple of things here. If you noticed, my GPO is linked to the domain level. The reason for that is the solution that I'm going to show you at the very end of our webinar can handle more than just Active Directory changes. Because of that, I have my GPO linked to the domain level to also track changes that occur to servers and workstations. If you only want to track Active Directory changes, you could link the GPO to the domain controller's OU and get the same effect. Now also, because I am auditing more than just Active Directory changes, you will see that I have more success and failure than what is needed for just Active Directory. Well, what exactly is needed for Active Directory? This can be very confusing. Well, we at ManageEngine have developed a document that gives you specific details on exactly what needs to be configured in order for you to track exactly what you want. And why is that document so important? Well, the document is important because we really don't want to track changes that are occurring within the operating system that we will never look at because it takes time and resources away from our servers in order to track that. That's why the document is so important. And if you email me, I'd be more than happy to send you that document telling you exactly what needs to be tracked for you to get the changes that are occurring. So what we have here are the details of the audit policy and what needs to be configured so that we track any Active Directory change. Again, I have this in a GPO linked to the domain, but you could do it at the domain controller's level. So once we have this tracking in place and you have the details of the tracking configured, we need to make sure that we have the correct success and failure. So you saw in my group policy object that some were success and some were success and failure. Well, why are some success and some success and failure? Well, we not only want to track the changes that occur, we want to track the attempts of the changes that occur. And we also want to track other areas around Active Directory, such as logons. Today, we are being attacked so often, both internal and external. We as administrators, we as corporations need to know when someone is trying to brute force their way into a user account. Well, usually a brute force is going to be repetitive bad passwords. So the failure of the things within Active Directory are important as well. That's why we have the document to help you set up the success and failure of what you need. Now, once I have all of this set up, I am actually going to have this pushed out to my domain controllers. But if I were to go to Active Directory after setting up the auditing and then go to the security log within my event viewer, I'm not going to see very many entries. The reason for that is that auditing of changes in Active Directory is a two-step process. And the second step is the most important step because it is the details around what I want to track of the changes. I actually look at this as the secret. It's the secret to ensure that you are setting up your auditing correctly. Now, the way that this works is you first go into group policy like we did and you set up the audit policy. But then you need to go to the actual attribute or the objects that you want to track and tell them that you want to track them. Let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to go back to my environment. I'm going to go to Active Directory Users and Computers. And then once Active Directory Users and Computers starts, I'm going to go to the domain level. So you'll see here is my domain. I go to my domain level, properties, and then security. And really what we are going to set up here is we're going to set up the audit trail. The audit list is called the SACL, the Security Access Control List. To get to the Security Access Control List, we go to Advanced and then Auditing. And you will see here that I have all of the different types of objects: computers, groups, organizational units, users, group policy, that I said that I want to track. And this will inherit down through the Active Directory structure in such a way that if anyone makes a change to any of these objects, then I am going to track that information within the security log and event viewer. So the secondary setting is extremely important so that we are tracking what we need to track of the changes within Active Directory. And if you set up the group policy correctly and you set up this auditing correctly on the security tab, that's really all you need to do. From this point forward, all of your domain controllers now will track every change within the security log so that you can go and look at that information. Now, what does this look like in the end? Well, in the end, this is going to be something that is a little bit complicated for us to look at because of the nature of the way that these things are logged. First and foremost, if we go and look at my domain controller, which is this machine here, and I go to my event viewer, security log, you will see that I have 143,000 events. Now, 143,000 events, that's a lot of information that we're going to have to go through. Now, this is just one security log on one domain controller. If I have 10 domain controllers, I am going to have 10 unique security logs. The security log is not replicated between domain controllers. So if I have 143,000 events on one domain controller and I have 10 domain controllers total, that means that I have just under 1,500,000 events that I'm going to have to go through to find the changes that I need to run reports. So initially, you can immediately see that because the events are generated on the domain controller where the event occurred, each DC has its own security log. So this can be a little bit cumbersome when we try to get into the security logs to look at the information. But the auditing is only one piece. We could go in and set up advanced auditing. Now, advanced auditing is a technology that Microsoft first released in Server 2008, but they really didn't get it completed until Server 2008 R2. And what advanced auditing does is it allows for more granular configuration for your audit policy. It's really designed for auditors and security professionals, but we as administrators can take advantage of it too. And really what Microsoft wanted to do with advanced auditing is give administrators and auditors more information, more detail for compliance regulations. Now, advanced auditing is configured within group policy as well. So if I go back to group policy, which is here, and I go into my group policy object, I'll show you where we were with auditing, and then I'll show you where advanced auditing was. Auditing is here under my local policies, under computer configuration. My advanced auditing is all the way down here at the bottom of your security settings. And you'll see here that I have my advanced auditing configured. And when we start looking at the details around advanced auditing, let's look at, for example, account management. With the old audit policy, I just did account management and all the objects were included. Now I can specify exactly what I want to track with regard to each object type. What this is going to help me do, first off, is reduce the overall size of my logs and what is being logged. Secondly, this is going to allow me to get more information about what is being changed within Active Directory, because advanced auditing gives me more information, more details around the changes that are occurring. So from a Manage Engine perspective, we recommend that you set up advanced auditing whenever possible. Remember, advanced auditing only works for your Server 2008 R2 domain controllers and greater. This is where you set it up on your slide right here. And you can set this up for your domain controllers running the newer OSs. But I always get the question, well, what if I have a Windows Server 2003 R2 domain controller and a Server 2008 R2 domain controller? Can I still use advanced auditing? Yes. Because group policy can target each different computer operating system, you can have one group policy object for your legacy domain controllers and another group policy object for your newer domain controllers. That way you're getting the best information out of your newer OSs, and your older OSs still get great information and track all Active Directory changes. So at this point, what we have established is our group policy object, and in our group policy object we have auditing or advanced auditing. Then we've gone into Active Directory users and computers and told Active Directory exactly what we want to track. And as I mentioned, at this point, we now have the information that we need inside of Event Viewer. So at this point, since we have the information we need in Event Viewer, let's try to find some information. Now, as I travel around the world, I find that every Active Directory administrator wants to find certain information, and they want reports and alerts on certain changes. Now, let's take something very simple. I think all of us on this webinar know that when a change occurs to the membership of the domain admins group, that's an important change. So possibly what we want to do is we want to go into Event Viewer and find the last time that domain admins changed. So we type in domain admins and say find now. Now, what I'm showing you here is the best search tool that Microsoft has in Event Viewer for finding something inside of all the logs. Now, what you'll see here is that this search is taking quite a while. But what I want to point out here is this is only one domain controller. You're going to have to do this on every domain controller. So what we're finding here is we may have the information in the log, but trying to get the information out of the log might be difficult. But in reality, we may have even more concerns, because when we really start thinking about the way the logs are organized, we might not even have in these 145,000 events domain admins even mentioned, because we all know that our log size has a limitation. Now, the way that Microsoft has organized this is they've allowed us to go in and set up the log size. Now, instead of me just kind of telling you what I think the log size should be, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here to group policy, and I'm going to show you what Microsoft recommends. Now, if I go into policies, Windows settings, security settings, event log, you will see here maximum security log size. Now, we could try to guess what this is, but if we go to the Explain tab, it tells us specifically. This says the security setting is the maximum size, which has a theoretical maximum of 4 gig. Now, I am a little confused about why this is theoretical. These settings have been here for years, but really, a theoretical maximum isn't what Microsoft is recommending. What they're recommending is a more practical configuration of 300 meg. Now, we all know that 4 gig and certainly 300 meg is not very big in today's storage capacities. Now, what does this mean in our quest to track Active Directory changes? Well, what this means is the smaller the log size, the quicker our log is going to fill, and therefore the faster we are going to lose information out of this log, because most of us have our log set up to overwrite events as needed. Since we have the log set up to overwrite events as needed, we're in a little bit of a bind because now we're losing information that we need to run reports on. So our problem continues to grow. First, our problem is we don't have a very good tool to search. Second, what we're searching for may not even be in the log, because the log is going to overwrite events as needed, and if our log size is too small, we're going to miss information. But what about backing up the security log? Does Microsoft give us an option to back up the logs so that we can go into the archived logs? Well, let's go look. If I go to my security log here in Event Viewer, and I go to the properties again, you will see archive the log when full. Wow. So what Microsoft has given us, and this started in Server 2008, is the ability for us to archive the log. But not only does Microsoft give us controls on the security log itself, if we go back to group policy and we come under administrative templates, Windows components, event log service, security, you will see here that Microsoft gives us controls on where to put the logs, backing up the log. So they're telling us through group policy that we can control our logs and the archiving of the logs on all of our domain controllers. So that means that when our log fills up, we can actually get the information stored and we can pull the information out of those archived logs. So let's say, for example, that we have these set up. We have the backup set up. How would we go back in time to make sure that we can query the archived information? Well, the way to do that is you go to Event Viewer, you right-click on Security, and you open a saved log. Now, I hope you see how difficult this could be. Back in July of this year, I was in Sydney, Australia, and I had an administrator in my seminar tell me that he actually had this set up, and on average, every domain controller archived 10 logs a day based on his activity. If he had 10 domain controllers, that means per day he had 100 logs. At 145,000 entries per log, that is 14 million entries per day. And if the change that you're looking for didn't occur within that day, you may have to go back 10 days, 20 days, 30 days. If you have to go back 10 days, you're looking at 145 million events that you're going to have to go through in order to find the information that you're looking for. So even though Microsoft has given us these technologies of archiving the log and the searching and the accessing of the logs, we really don't have a solution just to find the last time that the domain admins group has changed membership. But Microsoft has given us some other technologies, and these other technologies, such as custom views, and more specifically, the ability to forward events, possibly could create other solutions. So let me show you what those look like. Microsoft gave us the ability to forward events from one or multiple domain controllers to a single log. That's called a subscription. You will see that I have a subscription set up here, and the subscription specifies which computers I want involved on the forwarding of events. So if I have 10 domain controllers, I could list all of my domain controllers here. Then I could specify which events I want those domain controllers to forward, and then I could have a centralized log of all of those changes that show up under forwarded events. So now instead of having to go to 10 domain controllers, I only go to one forwarded event log. Unfortunately, the best tools that I have in order to look at the information still is only find. And the forwarded events is going to have a maximum size as well. So even though I have this, I'm still not getting to the solution that I need. But wait, there's still one more option. Don't we really want alerts? I mean, if this particular entry shows up, don't you really want to receive an alert telling you that event occurred instead of having to go and search manually? Of course. Well, Microsoft has given us the option. We can actually receive an email when an event occurs. So what we would set up here is for a group membership change, we could specify that we want to receive an email when someone is added to or removed from a group. Notice the level that we're at here, though. I cannot specify just domain admins. The best I can do is the group level. So that means I'm going to be receiving emails from any group change that occurs within Active Directory, which I think we all agree is going to be too many emails that we really don't care about. So yes, Microsoft has some solutions for us, but unfortunately, the solution isn't detailed enough. The security log is too small. We don't have any reporting capabilities. The ability to search is very slow and cumbersome. The events are hard to decrypt. Even if we find events, we really don't know what they mean. And most of us, when we find an event viewer, we go out to the internet to try to decrypt exactly what the event means. We have a multitude of logs. Unless we are centralizing those logs, now our work is multiplied by multiple domain controllers. And then finally, alerting just isn't detailed enough. So what's the solution to this? Well, I feel the solution to this is a very simple tool called AD Audit Plus. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you quickly how easy it is to get information from a multitude of logs and run reports on what you need. All I'm going to do is a couple of clicks. Here I'm in AD Audit Plus. I'm going to go down to My Reports, and I am going to look at Modified Admin Groups. One click, and I now have a listing of all of the changes that have occurred to my admin groups. And right here you can see that Domain Admins was changed on November 18th. Now, if we go back to this security log, you will see that this goes back to the 21st. So the change for domain admins is not even in the log. We would never find it unless we go to the archived log to look at the changes. So you can clearly see here that a tool like AD Audit Plus gives you insight into things that are very difficult to see if you're using the Microsoft solutions. Now, what I always stress is that as an admin, we need customization of tools because your environment is not the same as someone else's environment. And when we talk about admin group, well, what does that mean? Because my admin groups might be different than your admin groups. You'll notice here that I have domain admins, plus I have finance managers. Well, finance managers is not a default group, but for my domain, it is an admin group. So here's how easy it is for you to add and customize these reports. The modified admin groups report is a default report. But if I go to configuration, I go to group, which we're dealing with groups, and I go to my modified admin group report and edit it, you can see here that I can add in any group that I want. So it's very easy for you to modify these reports to customize them for your environment. Literally, you can get AD Audit Plus installed and customize configurations less than a half an hour. And then after that, you can receive reports and alerts very quickly just by going in and looking at the right report. Well, what if I want to know over the last year when domain admins changed? I go to the last year, I go to a quick search, and I go to domain admins, and right there is my list. This is a list over the last year of when domain admins has changed, all the way back to February 2014. This is a very powerful search tool. This is a very powerful reporting tool. And at any time, if I want to get this report printed out, I can export any report into a PDF or any other format that I need to take care of the data. So as you can see, just by looking at a simple report of domain admins changes, we're able to do something that the Microsoft tools cannot do. But of course, that's just one example. We have provided you with over 125 default reports, everything from logons to general account management, user, group, computer, OU, group policy management. Here under Advanced Group Policy Management, I can know if my password policy has changed over whatever period that I want. So I could come in here and I could say, I want to know if my password policy changed in April of 2015, and yes, it did. And then I have the details on exactly what changed in the group policy object. Plus, I have information changes about DNS, permissions that occur within the Active Directory, plus all of my customized reports. And you can see that I have quite a few customized reports. Most of these here towards the top are my customized reports. Almost all of these reports I have created for customers that wanted specific solutions. Now, in order for us to understand the full capacity of a tool like AD Audit Plus, I'm going to go over one more example. And we're going to see the breadth of how easy this tool is. Let's talk about service accounts. All of us know that when we go to services.msc on one machine, we have a list of service accounts that are listed here. Now, obviously, we can do this on one machine, and it's really easy. But what if we have 500 servers? How do we get the list of service accounts across 500 servers? Well, we at ManageEngine know this is a problem. So what we have done is we've created a solution for you that's absolutely free. If you go download our free Active Directory tools, if you already have the free Active Directory tools, you need to download a new version because this is literally just months old. We've provided you with service account management reporting. You simply go into service accounts, specify which machines you want to get your service accounts from, and you go get your service accounts. The tool, through the credentials that you put in here, without any agents, will go to all of the servers that you've specified and report back the service accounts. Now, many of these are kind of built-in service accounts, and we don't care about those, so we only want users, and there they are. We can also export this as a CSV. Once you get a listing of your service accounts, we want to track them, because we all know that when something changes with a service account, usually the service stops working and we get a phone call. But we may not get the phone call for hours or days after the problem occurred, and we really don't know what the root problem is. So when a service account changes, we should receive an email alert immediately that it changed. How do we do that? Well, from here, we go into AD Audit Plus configuration, user modification, because the service account is a user, and we create a new report. The new report is going to look just like this: service account modification, a modification to a user. If anything changes for that user, we want to be notified. Then we take from this list and we add in to this list all of those accounts. And we're done. We're done. Because now if I go to reports, my reports, and I go to service account modifications, I have a report of every service account that changed, when it changed, and what changed. Oh, but I mentioned alert, right? Alerts. View the alerts. I have alerts for service account modification right here. Watch this. If someone goes into Active Directory and they modify a service account in any way, like disabling it, that could cause extreme problems. But in my environment, because of AD Audit Plus, I receive an immediate alert, real-time alert, telling me that that changed. I could also, through the alerts, receive an email. I just don't have that set up in my environment. This is the power of AD Audit Plus. You will notice that I have set up alerts for a variety of different things in my environment. OU changes, GPO permission changes, the default administrator changing, user rights modified, passwords changing. All of these are alerts. When any of these things occur, I am going to either receive on the dashboard a notification, and if I have it set up, an email notification. So AD Audit Plus provides you a tool that gives you real-time alerting on the most important changes that occur in Active Directory, as well as reports that you can give to others. No other tool is as easy as AD Audit Plus or as powerful as AD Audit Plus due to the ease of the tool. So what we've looked at is the default reports, customizing reports, whether it be a default report or a brand new one, and we've looked at alerting. Literally within minutes, you can set up your own custom reports and alerting, and now have the ability to see when things are changing that you've never had the ability to see before. So in our short time together today, we've looked at my definition of change monitoring. I want to know when anything in Active Directory changes and the full details around what is changing. How we set this up is we're using the auditing and the advanced auditing built into Microsoft. That's what AD Audit Plus looks at. But AD Audit Plus in real time pulls the important events out of those security logs. So it really doesn't matter how big your log is. We in real time, using a Microsoft API, are pulling that information out. So you no longer have to worry about your security log. You can go to AD Audit Plus, and you can look at your reports at any time over any time period. Plus, as an admin, you must set up alerts. And these alerts give you insight into things that are changing in real time that you've never been able to look at before. Now, I'm just going to reiterate what Damien said earlier. Please, if you have any questions, go ahead and post those in your question toolbar, and we will get back to you on those through email. I also want to remind you that we are going to have a couple of seminars later on in this year, or earlier in 2016. I guess it's still 2015. And I really hope to see many of you at those seminars. The seminars are very energizing. They're very interactive. It allows you to communicate with me and ask me questions. Typically, there's a multitude of other technicians from Manage Engine that are very, very in tune with these tools and Active Directory. And we at Manage Engine love to answer your questions. So please, you have my email. Please email me with questions. If you have any questions about when the seminars will be, you can email me or Damien or anyone else at Manage Engine. Also, keep up to date on the events page on Manage Engine, and you can see that. And I just encourage you to communicate with us, communicate with me, look at our blog, and keep up to date on things that are changing so that we can help you become more efficient, and in an area around monitoring of Active Directory changes, allow you to actually succeed in what you want to do with Active Directory. So with that, I'm going to end the webinar. I really hope that you got a lot out of today's webinar, and I really hope to see you guys in 2016. Any questions, please let us know, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much.